Hey! If any of you are looking for any last-minute gift ideas for me, I have one. I'd like Frank Shirley, my boss, right here tonight. I want him brought from his happy holiday slumber over there on Melody Lane with all the other rich people, and I want him brought right here with a big ribbon on his head. And I want to look him straight in the eye, and I want to tell him what a cheap, lying, no-good, rotten, four-flushing, low-life, snake-licking, dirt-eating, inbred, overstuffed, ignorant, blood-sucking, dog-kissing, brainless, dickless, hopeless, heartless, fat-ass, bug-eyed, stiff-legged, spotty-lipped, worm-headed sack of monkey shit he is! Hallelujah! Holy shit! Where's the Tylenol?
What's going on, everybody? This is the Rhythm Section Podcast. That's Jeff.
That's Derek.
Thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, man.
And what do we do? Well, we talk music. We interview awesome musicians from the Memphis area, greater Memphis area, and random nonsense. And we love playing little sound bites, too, in the front end, as you can see. Yeah. Jeff, please tell the audience where they can find us.
Facebook, YouTube, Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, everywhere.
We are coming to you pre-recorded.
Yes.
From SRP Studios in Hernando and produced by Shelby Row Productions. Right. If you want to start a podcast, go to shelbyrowproductions.com, sign up for that free consultation. You'll get me directly. We'll figure out a way to get you a nice little podcast. And Patreon, if you really want to support this podcast, the best way to do it is go to our description, click on our Patreon link, and that will take you to a subscription-based platform, in essence, a paywall. We don't have any exclusive or premium content in there. We just have one tier called the Tip Jar. It's $1 a month. And if you feel like you can spare $1 a month or $12 a year, that would go a long way for us. And that's it. So as usual, parental discretion of this podcast is advised.
Yes.
What's going on, Jeff?
Man, not much. This will air the day after Christmas.
Yes. Yep.
So the intro,
as people are listening to this right now,
right,
it is 12/26.
Yes,
December 26th.
And the intro you just heard was classic Chevy Chase from Christmas Vacation. That was that wasn't necessarily chosen as Derek Joseph's intro. It was just chosen because it's Christmas and you got to have some Chevy Chase in your life.
That's right. And last week we did Christmas Story.
Yes.
And we have Josh Haynes with us. He's on off mic, but he's on headphones.
Yeah, we just interviewed him for his episode that'll air in the near future.
And I think he'll appreciate this. To go back to the Christmas Story, the leg lamp falls off the windowsill and sounds like this. Like a damn chandelier. I had to go back. Sorry, I just love that sound so much. But no, Jeff, you wanted to talk a little bit about the Griswold sound, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's just, you know, if you haven't seen that movie, I don't know where you've been.
I know.
I don't even know what year that movie came out, but it's been a staple in my household for well over a decade. We watch it every year.
Also, we have another sound from that movie.
Okay.
Remember, we had our friend Andrew on here. An ongoing joke we have is if we're talking to each other and we stop paying attention, we call it squirrel. Yeah. Like, stop squirreling. I just squirreled you and everything. And that's where this sound came from. Because the squirrel's like running through the Christmas tree.
Another great scene with the tree that they pulled up and brought in the house, and there was a squirrel living in it, and the whole family's losing their mind.
So Jeff, one of the great things about this podcast is we can promote the local music community and try to make announcements as best we can. There's a timeline deal with podcasts, so we can't be extremely current.
Right.
But there is something that we can talk about, and there's a very popular local original band that's going to be pushing out some new stuff. Why don't you talk about that?
Well, we just recently interviewed Tim Dills and of Fever Tree, and he had mentioned to us when he was in the studio that they were working on some things, and they didn't get very specific, and I'm not going to get real specific because I think it's probably still under wraps, but Tim did post on Facebook that he wanted to give a shout out to David Cowell and Matt Montgomery at Supernova Sound. This is obviously the place that Fever Tree goes to record their new material. So we do want to give those guys a shout out. And there's a new song that's going to be coming out soon from Fever Tree. And I believe that Tim is going to come here so that we can debut that music for them, which is very cool.
Exclusive.
So that's in the near future. We don't know dates, but we're excited to hear that they've got new music coming out.
I'm excited to hear it too.
Yeah.
You know, again, bias, but Rocco, man, awesome bass player.
Yeah.
The tone on their last album, his tone is awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, they had no problem putting them up in the mix. It was great. So one thing I forgot to mention on the very front end of this is our guest for this episode. That is Derek Joseph.
Yeah.
So let's jump right to him because there's definitely a history here with Derek Joseph and myself and Jeff Ward here. But it goes further back than me. Like we actually met in Nashville back in 2000, before 2010, briefly.
Right.
And then years later, we both end up living in Mississippi.
Right.
With our own different
Which is
stories.
so crazy.
Right. And by that time, he was still just really heavy in the casino world. And I filled in for him once.
Yeah.
And then at some point, I think it was 2013, he needed a bass player and hired me. Off and on since then, we've played. We took like a 4-year gap in there. But the first major stint was really just local casinos down here in Tunica, Mississippi.
Yeah.
Hollywood. We played resorts. We played Isle of Capri. That's Lula. Some Horseshoe, you know, just the standard stuff down there. And then it ended, you know, and you had played a little bit with us at some point towards the end of that. I went back on the road with my buddies, Mackenzie's Mill. And things just kind of faded away.
Yep.
And after like 4 years, you,
and I was out of playing at the time. I'd pretty much stopped, and you know, because this business can get to you at times, and you get burnt, and you want to take a break.
Sure.
So I'd had a couple of year layoff.
So Derek started ramping back up in 2018.
Yeah.
I ran with him all summer of 2019. Then everyone knows about 2020.
Yeah.
But he and I the band managed to go up to North Wisconsin in the middle of June of 2020. COVID didn't exist up there. There was probably 500 people at that show. No masks.
They didn't care. Yeah.
But we managed to sneak up. So that was the 2 shows we did in 2020. Then I took 2021 off. I just stopped playing. So I had no real ambition to start back up. I was happy running my business and everything until you called me one day.
It was probably about a year ago this time that I called you.
So what happened? What was that conversation?
It's pretty funny. I called you and I said, man, I'm ready to play. Do you think Derek Joseph would be, or I said, would you be willing to get back into a band situation? And you said, well, and I think you were using this as a way to not do it. You said, if you can get Derek Joseph to do it, I'm in.
Local.
Yeah, local. It was going to be nothing but local shows, small venues. I hung up with you and immediately called Derek. I mean, I couldn't get the phone hung up fast enough. I called Derek, and he's like, yeah, I'll do it. We'll do a few local shows. Next thing I know, we're rehearsing, trying out new guitar players, and Derek's booking things in Wisconsin and New York State and North Carolina. We're back on the bus. Wasn't the intent, but it worked out, and we had a good time. Yeah,
and I was like, man, I guess the way it happened organically, I was like, I guess I'm playing again.
Yeah.
You know, I guess I'm playing again.
Yeah.
So it's been a fun summer, you know, and Derek is a good friend of mine.
Yeah.
I've grown close with his family. His wife, Rita, is awesome, you know.
Absolutely.
I enjoy her on the bus.
we would be silly if we didn't mention right now that our last gig of the year will be at Sidecar South Haven for New Year's Eve.
And so this is dropping December 26th.
So you guys have a week to prepare and get your butts to Sidecar to see Derek Joseph do his thing one more time this year.
Come watch Jeff Ward play.
Yeah.
It's good stuff. Watch the rhythm section. That's hack, but you know. Well, and you know, Derek has an awesome website. He has all of the socials. So go to derekjoseph.net. You can listen to his EP. You can read his story. He's got a really good story on there, how he got started. Plus, we talk about that in depth in this episode. His tour schedule, merch. He's got all kinds of great merch.
Yeah.
So, and shout out to my buddy Mondo, who designed everything for him.
Yes.
So without further ado, let's bring the people to
Yeah,
Derek
man.
Joseph and his interview. And I hope you all enjoy our interview with Derek Joseph.
Enjoy.
Thank you. Jeff, our good friend Derek Joseph has finally made it to the studio.
Yay, I'm here.
We felt like we had to because we had Andrew, guitar player, Cobble, guitar player. Of course, you and I host it. Derek,
Right.
we didn't want him to feel bad.
We were obligated.
Like the last guy in the mix. So.
Save the best for last.
Well, we wanted to talk to you about that raise I mentioned on
I
Facebook.
must be.
Well, first we wanted to hear all the bad things that Cobble and Andrew had to say about you. Now we
is
can
this
tell
session?
you. Now we can tell you.
Yeah.
We got it all written down here.
Oh,
There's
I'm
a
sure.
long list.
I'm not doubting that.
No, but thanks for being here, man.
Thanks for having me.
You were one of my first visitors because you actually helped me move a giant box that had to be assembled into a storage cabinet.
Yep. That's
And
fun.
I needed a truck and a second set of hands, man. I couldn't do it.
I was there.
I was like, Derek's, gullible. He'll help me.
yeah.
I'll suck him in. I appreciate that.
No problem. Anytime.
It looked a little different then, didn't it?
Yes, it looks awesome in here now. I love it. Really cool.
I know you're a busy man too, so we appreciate this, and
Couldn't wait to do it. So I'm psyched.
So right on, man. Well, let's get started here. We want to talk about you, let people know,
I'm really interested.
but also I think it'd be kind of cool if we also act like buddies, like we're on the bus, and also shoot the shit,
Yep.
a little bit.
Sounds good.
We had Andrew in here. And Andrew, for anyone that doesn't know, I can never pronounce his last name.
Solamito.
Thank you. Is one of our two guitar players.
Yeah.
Young kid, just graduated college, moved to Nashville. He came in here. We got a little carried away.
We did.
And we were like talking like in the bus after the gig.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of
hooting and hollering, and
risky.
F-bombs everywhere.
a lot of
It was
beeping.
So there's some editing on that one.
Yeah.
But nothing but nice things to say about you, Derek.
Great. I'm glad to hear that. He's a good kid. It's funny. I'm at that age where everyone's a kid to me or whatever,
Oh,
I
yeah.
guess, whatever. But I mean,
I know the feeling.
You what,
He's-
46?
me? I wish. So I'd like to be that old. No, I'm just joking. So no, he's a great kid and such a great addition to the band just because he's so much younger than all of us and adds that other dynamic to it.
We have this sound that, we have our regular sounds that people are getting to know. And this is, in Squirrel, Andrew is the one that motivated you to find that sound.
Yeah.
Because we knew Andrew was coming on and we talk about squirreling all the time.
Yeah.
Again, if anyone doesn't know what the hell we're talking about, squirreling is when you're talking to someone and that person just loses concentration and stops listening to you.
Yep.
That person has squirreled.
Yep.
That's common among musicians.
Yeah, so
Very
that's why I
common.
I love this sound right here. And I can tell Ward is not liking it.
Okay.
But all right, man. So you are from Phelps, New York, correct?
Yes, sir.
So what is Phelps like?
It is a small rural farming community in the middle of nowhere, upstate New York.
What's the population like?
When I lived there, I believe it was 3,500.
Oh wow, that is tiny.
And it was small enough where like the next town was also like 3,500. So we went to the same high school and schools and stuff,
Yeah.
just to make it more economical and stuff.
So how did it work back then in a town like that without Walmarts and Dollar Generals? And
Well, actually, my family, I grew up in retail because my dad had convenience stores and a small like supermarket or grocery store. And then we ended up building a supermarket in our town
that's great.
and had that until
What was it
around
called?
It was Joseph's Market Basket,
There you
actually.
go.
And we had that, and that was how I got into retail. We ended up getting rid of those, and I went into retail and did that for a few years.
Target, right?
Yep. Then I went to Target. Well, I went to a few different stores up there. There was one called Wegmans. It's a huge grocery chain up there, and I was with them for quite a few years. And then went to Rite Aid. I was at Rite Aid. I was a corporate trainer for them. Then I went over to Target. And then with Target, I was a corporate trainer and then a store exec. And used to go around the country. Enjoyed that. Actually enjoyed that a lot. So,
That's cool. So this is cool because this shows that business acumen, so that's that story. And then eventually this overlaps and ties into your music and how you ran your music.
Oh yeah, music is a
too.
business. I mean, absolutely. Like when I moved to Nashville, it was weird. I went, of course, from local bands where you just played for $600 a weekend or whatever, $1,000, to all of a sudden having to run it like a business and find musicians and find transportation and find the gigs. It wasn't like, it was that typical scenario, big fish, little pond where I came from. We could play anywhere we wanted to pretty much. All of a sudden you're getting to Nashville and it's like, hey, I want to play here. I want to play there. And they're like, well, we've never heard of you.
Yeah.
Kind of made you want to go back to retail, didn't it?
Oh, man. There's some, Nashville is very humbling.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
how far is Phelps from where we played? We played the Turning Point Casino.
Turning Stone Casino in Verona. That's about an hour and 20 minutes, I believe.
Okay.
Right around there.
Okay. So we were pretty close to home.
Yeah,
you had a lot of people come out and support you for that gig.
That was a great one. A lot of people who planned on it couldn't for different reasons or whatever, summertime. But I was real happy with the attendance that we had from my hometown. They usually show up pretty good for me. And
the guy that booked us,
Brian Fagan. Yeah,
he's a fan of this podcast.
Yeah.
Thank you, Brian, for always commenting and liking stuff.
Yeah,
and great guy.
We hope to come back up there and play again. He said he's got more gigs coming for us.
I just talked to him the other day, actually.
So let's make it more clear. So his name, and he booked you. So what's his name again? Full name?
Brian Fagan.
Brian Fagan, and he booked you at
Turning Stone Casino.
Yeah. In what part of New York?
Verona, New York.
Yeah. And then
he is
showed up, met him. He was there for sound check.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's with Grace Musicians Group.
Okay.
Yeah. Got a lot of good artists under him. He's doing a lot of great things up there, really.
Yeah, I've been pushing some of his artists because they're great.
Oh yeah. I mean, he's got a great ear, really. I hate to say like some promoters or whatever don't really have an ear for it, or he's got a great ear for the bands and stuff, and he knows whether
He must have had a misstep with us.
He's
I
picking.
got him really drunk before our show.
He's picking some good ones though. He really is.
Yeah.
He's got some
all right. Brian doesn't comment enough. All right, so we don't have to talk that much about him.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, we're done with him.
No, I feel like I can mess with him. Keep listening, Brian. We'll have a conversation through the show here.
So okay, and then early on in you weren't a vocalist at first.
No, I started out on piano. Okay. Actually, I did piano for quite a few years.
8 years old, right?
Yep, 8 years old. I started on piano. Played piano until I was 12, I think, or so. And then my sister was dating a drummer, so drums seemed really cool. He was a cool dude,
because they are cool.
Drummers are the coolest.
I'm like, cool. Well, let's take up the drums. So I took drums and played them, and played through high school and local bands as a drummer. Sang background harmonies. I always loved to sing, but I was so self-conscious, when stage fright and everything. So my drum set, if you see my old pictures, of course, that was the 80s. Late 80s, early 90s.
With the toms like above your head.
Huge cymbals, toms, everything, So you couldn't even see me. So it was okay. I could sing like that because nobody saw me.
Yeah.
And played drums for quite a few years. And then took up singing. I was down actually on business to Gulfport, Mississippi. My father used to live there. And
little did you know.
Yeah. Well, I was actually scheduled to go to, I believe, Atlanta, Georgia, as I recall, on business for Rite Aid. I was supposed to go there and train people. And on Sunday night, my district manager calls me and says, hey, you're not going to Atlanta. You ever heard of Gulfport? And I said, yeah, my dad lives there. He says, well, that's where you're going.
All right.
And so the next morning I flew out to Gulfport and was there for like 3 weeks training people. And my dad only lived 12 minutes from my hotel. So I never even really stayed in the hotel. I stayed with him, and he had a big party for me because it was the first time I'd been down there. And he was really big into guitar and singing, and just kept bugging me. And I finally had enough beers in me that it's like, fine. So I sang Toby Keith's How Do You Like Me Now was the first song I ever sang in front of people.
All right.
And so that kind of like spurred it. It was like, okay, well, this is pretty cool. And I went back to New York and figured, well, let's keep singing, see how it goes.
And you just started building bands?
Well, I went back there, and that was back when Craigslist was still popular.
Yeah.
And like band mix and things. And there was a local band up there called Bad Habit, and they were a big rock band kind of around the area, pop rock and stuff like that, party band. And they had an ad on Craigslist for a singer. And I literally had been singing like a month at this point. And I'm like, well, screw it. I'm going to send them an email. So they said, come on out. So we go out to a rehearsal or a tryout, and there's 2 other singers there. I'm like, this is kind of awkward, so the one guy goes first, and he was really good.
You had to sing in front of each other?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man.
Never done that before. Yeah. So,
wow.
that was interesting. So he sings real good. I get up, I sing. Next guy gets up, he sings, whatever. And they're like, well, we'll let you know. I'm like, cool. And I did it more for the experience of a tryout and auditions to see how it goes.
Sure.
And, you know, it's literally the first time I sang over like a PA with a band. I didn't even know how that would work.
Right.
And a few days later, she called me and said they wanted to offer me the job, you know, as a singer for their band. So I sang with them for a couple of years and played around up there.
What was the material?
Man, everything from Three Doors Down, Nickelback, to country, to Brown Eyed Girl.
Wow.
It pretty much didn't miss any stops. It hit everything.
I know when I hit the casino world as a bass player, it was the same thing.
Yep.
And I'm sure you felt the same way. Moments probably not fun, but man, it's a good education.
Oh, it was great because I learned songs I probably wouldn't, if I had just stayed in country, that I wouldn't have learned. And then we ended up doing later, after I moved to Nashville even and did some of the casino circuit stuff, they were just songs that worked.
Hey, in my casino years, I used to have to play a lot of Justin Timberlake, Christina Aguilera, and I tell you what, I learned a lot of shit from those songs.
Oh, yeah.
And I always enjoyed anything we had to play because of the education I was getting from all this different stuff.
Right.
You know, until I drank too much on stage and got bored.
Well, it's one of those things people, like, they see you doing country, they figure, well, he's just a country guy. You know, or see someone playing drums with a country band, that's all I know is, or you like funk, you know, and stuff like that. You like, people wouldn't necessarily know that about you, but that your style's very wide range.
I mean,
you know?
Casey and the Sunshine Band is my favorite type of music to play on bass.
Sure. Yeah. And who would guess? You know, you know, you see with a country band rocking out to that, just you don't assume that. So,
but when I'm listening to music, it's hard rock.
Yeah.
You know, heavy metal type stuff. But
that's me. I'm Hair Nation is on in my truck most of the time.
We're gonna have a conversation about that.
Can't wait.
Our time on the bus.
We should have thought of this before starting. Like, we got to tell one. We've had some pretty fun bus stories.
Yeah.
You know, I think there's one that we probably can't talk about that deals with cucumbers.
Oh my God! Yeah,
but
we're not gonna.
Anyways,
I've told that in several other places.
No, not this one, not yet.
Yeah.
Let us grow a little bit. That's a gross story.
Young in the,
But all right, let's bridge from New York to Nashville now. So, you know, I have a story too, which is fun. I want you know, and I've heard your story
a
few times now, but I'm also kind of a burnout, so I forget things. So. So what year was it and how old were you?
I was 37 when I got my record deal. And I was just kind of traveling back and forth.
What year was that?
That would have been 2007.
Okay.
I believe it was.
Okay. So
or 2008.
I don't want to leapfrog important stuff because you said I forgot that you got a record deal. So let's not just skim over that.
Right.
That's interesting. So how did you get a record deal while playing in New York?
I had a buddy that was going back and forth to Nashville and stuff, and I just kind of used to go down with him. And he really kind of showed me the ropes of how to get songs pitched to you, how to even set up meetings with people in record labels or writers and things like that.
How to find songs for you to sing and play and record.
And try and find like what my voice was and stuff. And so I had put out an ad looking for material, and I got hundreds of CDs sent to me from every writer all around the country that belongs to this Nashville clique. And I found several CDs of music I liked, but there was one company that had like 4 or 5 really good songs, and it was Little House Records. And so I asked them if they were okay with me recording it up in New York. And they're like, yeah, before you do anything, you got to send it to us, though we don't want to just put out there.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So I recorded at a studio in New York and sent it to them. And
just one song or all 4?
I did 2 songs and sent it down to them. And they said they really liked what they had heard, asked me if I had any video like performing and stuff. And I said, yeah. So I sent them down my video of what I had with my current band in New York.
Right.
And so they sent me another song and that I really liked, recorded that, sent it back down to them. And they said, well, we'd like to meet with you sometime. Do you ever come to Nashville? I said, oh yeah. So one time I was down there, I met with them and talked with him about everything and went back home to New York. And he said, well, we'd like to bring you down for a vocal audition at a studio down here. And okay. So they brought me down for that. And it was great for me. At the time, one of the songs I loved singing on stage was Country Is My Rock by Trent Tomlinson.
Yeah,
there you go.
Great song.
Co-writer is a guy named Tony Ramey. And Tony has a phenomenal voice. He sang on one of the demos. I found that out later, and I was always like, God, if I could have that guy's voice. But so I go down there and we walk into the studio, and hanging on the wall is a gold record for Country Is My Rock. Trent Thomason, co-writer Tony Ramey.
That was the sign.
That was Tony Ramey's studio. And went back there, and it was a pretty daunting audition. They put me in front of the vocal mic, and I was nervous anyway.
Sure.
You know,
and you have an audience again of just strangers in the room.
Yeah, I mean, I met the record label owner like twice, and I never met Tony. And I found out in talking with him that he was the one who sang on the one demo, and he's got a phenomenal voice. And so they put me in front of the microphone. They start the song, and I start singing, and I'd sing like 20 seconds. He'd hit the thing. Wait, let's redo that line. I'm like, okay, go back. And then like figure out where they're coming into it to, you know, and stuff. Do all that. I get another minute into the song. Let's retake that. Sing this one a little higher, a little lower.
That would drive me crazy.
Get 30 seconds in. Hold on. On that run, try going a little higher. You know, we're going to run, and then you're going to run down the octaves. Okay.
He's testing you.
And I'm like, oh my God.
He's testing you.
Of course, I'm too new at this. I'm like, I am bombing this hard.
So, I mean, it could have been the singing part, but I think also he was, I can't speak for the guy. I wasn't there. I'm not him. But it sounds like he was testing you. That's to see how you would handle.
That was what he told me.
The stop and go and the notes.
Once we got through the second song, we got about halfway through the second song. He's like, "That's good. Just come on back in the sound room." I'm like, "Phew, yep. Obviously, I'm going home."
Was every part of your body sweaty?
Yeah. Oh, it was for sure. And I'm like, man, I just bombed hard. And so I go back in the sound room and talking with his name was Randy Jack Wiggins is his name, the owner. Talking with him and Tony and stuff, and I'm just feeling like a dog that been kicked, you know, and I'm like, just waiting for it. And he's like, we really like what we hear. Like, we'd like to sign you on, you know, offer you a record deal, have a contract for you to look at, this, that, and the next thing. And I don't think I really like caught it all at that moment in time because I walked outside, got in my rental car, and I'm like, there's no way that just happened. Like
this is what went on in Derek's head.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I'm like, there's just no way that
I finally had a reason to play that song. I'm so happy.
So I went home and had a lawyer look at the contract and all that and thought about it. Not that there was a lot to think about, you know, and they're a smaller, you know, independent label, and signed the record deal with them. That was, they say it was, I think May of 2008 when it was. And they told me, be prepared. You know, we'll release these songs, we'll record them, release them. They may never do anything. Right. You know, we're smaller, independent.
But they're covering the bill, right?
Yeah,
that's part of the deal.
Don't got it. Well, I covered a good portion of it as well. You know, I invested some in my own career. Yeah. And but we had some of the, like 5 of the biggest promoters in Nashville. Several of them are still doing it. And like one of them was Rascal Flatts promoter. And she still does it. And they would have great stories about promoting artists like that. And here's little me, like was amazing.
You had a booth next to him at one point at some event.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, I was signing autographs it was the old convention center in Nashville that was on Broadway there. Yep. And I one day signed autographs next to, I was like 2 booths down from Taylor Swift. Huh. And then the one day I was across from Carrie Underwood.
Oh, that's cool.
I signed one day, and
I wouldn't have got anything done sitting across from her. I've just been staring at her.
It was really cool because I was.
What did it feel like to be the only table without a line?
It was cool. I was okay with it. I had because those the people that were attending it didn't know this guy's a nobody. They just wanted the autographs, you know. Right. So I would sign some, but of course she got Taylor's line was a mile out, and Carrie's. But it was such an interesting because when we released it, I fully was prepared that it was probably never going to chart. The biggest promoter, I can't remember. I'm surprised I can't remember his name. He's a living legend in Nashville. Sam Cerami, that's his name. And he's worked for everybody. Mm-hmm. Eldine, Trace Atkins, you know, you name it. He's promoted them. And we went to his office one day, and he had pictures of everybody on his wall with him and stuff. I'm like, wow. And he said, just be prepared. We probably won't even chart. He's like, but we're going to promote it. We're going to put it out there and act. You know, I'm like, great. We released it.
Just the fact that you get this deal is a win.
Oh, I was just enjoying every minute of it.
I bet, yeah.
And so we release it, and 3 weeks into releasing it, we charted.
Wow.
And went out on CDX, which is a promotional thing. And we were in the top 5 downloads by radio stations twice. We did it in December and again in January. And I was in there with Brooks and Dunn, Big and Rich, Tim McGraw, Carrie Underwood, the different weeks that I was in there.
Yeah.
And I was like the only name you wouldn't recognize in this thing.
That's awesome.
Up with these guys 2 different weeks running. I was
So,
like, this was amazing.
Was this based on a single?
Yeah, this was on No Cool Way. We had released
The
that to
song
radio.
No Cool Way.
Yep.
One of the songs we've never played. I've played with you for several years now. I've never played that song.
It's a more traditional song. Of course, I'm not a real traditional guy. But I enjoyed the song when I first heard it. It was just a fun kind of.
And that was a different time.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been a minute. So,
And we should mention we're going to play a song here soon called Mexican Restaurant.
Yep. That's a fun song.
Would you consider that your modern single? Was that a single?
Yeah. It'd be more my modern style of one.
Well, let's bridge there quickly. So you move. So all of this is going down, and you're thinking, okay, it's time to move.
Yeah. Well, it got to a point where they told me I was still living in New York. And I literally had lived within 5 miles or so of the house I grew up in for 37 years.
Yeah.
And had never ventured out.
It's a big deal.
Didn't go off to college anywhere.
Right.
I lived and breathed in Phelps, New York. Thought I would die in Phelps, New York.
Yeah.
So I was scared shitless to move anywhere.
Yeah.
And it finally got to the point where the label was like, look,
you got to be around.
You either got to move to Nashville or we're going to release you.
Well, because they need you there.
Right. That was
for
there's
events and
industry events. I kept like flying in and driving in, and there's CRS.
They didn't want to pay for that anymore. What's up? Or were you paying for all of it?
A lot of times I was paying for it.
Of course.
And, and going to all these events and stuff. And it just did make more sense if and they're like, you got to be here.
Yeah.
And so picked up, moved to Nashville.
Had a good reason.
Oh, yeah. And it was, and don't regret it. Loved it. I mean, the experience I had was phenomenal.
Yeah.
There's nothing I've done in my musical career really that I regret. It was all a learning curve, tons of fun. I got to meet all kinds of amazing artists, and be friends with guys I was seeing on TV. All of a sudden, I knew them.
Now he's playing with us, Jeff.
Yeah, he moved up.
Yeah, I finally graduated.
So, Derek, what does your rhythm section do? Host a podcast?
Yeah, I'll tell you.
Do they show up prepared to know the songs? Sometimes.
Yeah,
kind of.
So I've been trying to think of when I started playing with you, and I want to say 2013.
That sounds about right.
Somewhere in there, I kind of sat in at the Isle of Capri in Lula, Mississippi. Just a one-off. That might have been 12 because I know that because where I was living at the time. But it was the next year. And I don't remember how it happened, but you just reached out because you were rebuilding a local band.
Yep.
And it was me, Eric Foreman on drums, and our good buddy Scott Smith on guitar. And actually rehearsed in my house in Memphis that I had at the time.
That was cool.
I call it the Rat House. I think it explains everything you need to know. And then, so I think that was 13. And ever since then, it's been an on again, off again relationship. And
I've had my ins and outs with music, frustrations.
I want to say we haven't had our in and outs personally. We've been friends the whole time.
Oh, yeah. Just
nothing but love and family. But our musical paths would change and come off the road, go back on the road. I took a year off. And
I took time off. That was my thing. It's just you get burned out. You know how it is. And
absolutely.
It just will do it to you.
So Jeff had played with us a couple times in the past. Well, we won't talk about the show at the Hollywood Casino. We've already discussed
We've talked about that enough.
But
you don't wanna.
So it was earlier this year.
Yeah.
Jeff and I on the phone, like we do often. We all, even though I hadn't played in like 16 months.
Right.
But always remain close with Jeff.
Yeah.
Right.
So we're on another phone call, and like always, Jeff's like, dude, when are you going to play again? I want to be in a band with you. And I'd always just be like, dude, I'm done. I'm like, not right now. Finally, I just throw it away. I'm like, Jeff, talk to Derek. If he wants to do something local, I'm in.
Yep.
And then
I hung up with you and called him.
1 hour later, he's like,
bang.
Hey, you're back.
I'm like, okay. So, all right. And how organic that was, I was like, maybe it's time to try to have some fun again.
Yeah. And we did. We had some good fun.
And then it turned into we're a road band, and then I'm back on the bus. And I was like, this is kind of cool. Like, I thought I was done with the bus. I thought I was just moving on. Yeah. Because then you did that whole. I took off 21, all of 21, and did 2 shows with you in 2020. Right. In June, North Wisconsin didn't have COVID. Right. Yeah. We ended up in 2 days. We had a full weekend up in North Wisconsin. That's it. That's all we had.
Oh yeah, there was nothing going on then.
Yeah, and then I took 21 off. Yeah. And then I was like, you know what, kind of neat. Back on the bus. Yeah. You know, it still has its same problems and headaches and.
Well, it's fun. Like what we had said is it's fun to do it with friends. Yeah. It's a totally different. Like when I went to Nashville, I became friends with a lot of musicians, but it's just different. Like I knew you more. Yeah. I knew about your history, your daughter. You know, I knew your life. I knew where you were from. Yeah. It's just a different thing. You know, knew our families and stuff like that. It just became.
You said earlier, it's a business.
Yeah, well, yeah, absolutely.
And that's when you're using those guys. It's a business. Mm-hmm. So you got with us, and it's a little more. It's less business and more friendship.
Right.
Yeah. It's still serious. Yeah. But it's not strictly business.
Yeah, and a lot of bands watching this in Memphis, you know, they know that a lot of the bands have consistent members,
right?
And especially, and I love again the original artists like Fast Mothers and Every Mother's Nightmare and everything because that's a different level of commitment.
That Every Mother's Nightmare is the coolest name.
Yeah, it is. But that's a whole otherworldly kind of commitment than a cover band.
Yeah.
Committing to a cover band is difficult too. It's business. It's hard work. We all know. We all know what it's like. But then to only play like original showcases here and there, not make any money, and then be in a room and writing with each other. That's a lot of work, you know.
Well, and that's the thing. There's different sides of that table of how you do music. Like I can write. I don't write really well, you know, and most of what I write comes out very traditional. It's just because that's my roots. And I had a big producer tell me once in Nashville, he says, writers write and singers sing. Yeah. And he says, don't confuse the two. Yeah. He was like, because when you write your own material and you sing your own material, you think it's great. And he's like, and you have to. He's like, but it doesn't always mean, just like now, there's a lot of songs on the radio written by Luke Bryan that he didn't sing, but yet they're number ones. Right. Songs by different artists that have, Lee Brice and them guys have written, Randy Houser's written monster tunes for other people.
Plenty of bands have started their career because of their own awesome version of a cover song.
Right.
You know, Black Crowes, Van Halen.
Yep.
Even Van Halen.
Yeah.
Think about that.
Yeah.
Playing a Kinks song, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So that said, did you have any hand in writing the song that we're going to play, Mexican Restaurant?
Not one. No. Written by some of the best writers in Nashville, actually.
Okay. Good segue, Jeff. Nicely done.
I thought that was good.
That was
teaching
good.
You, man. We need a sound for that. So what could there it is.
Okay.
There it
Works for me.
Just indulge me.
Yeah.
Okay, so yes, let's play a song. Let's talk about Mexican Restaurant.
Okay.
So go for it. No, go ahead and talk about it. Like the history behind it and who was on it. And
well, we had a studio, musicians in here. We recorded up in Nashville, and my producer, his name is Eddie. They call him Eddie K. Eddie Kilgallen. He's the road manager and keyboardist for Montgomery Gentry, actually. And I've always been very blessed and fortunate to be in the right place, right time, meet the right people.
Sure.
And I was put in touch with him, and he sent me tons and tons of songs, and like, here, listen to all these, see if there's any you like. And I found a handful of songs that I really liked, and I call it, the full name is Drunk in a Mexican Restaurant. It's hard for me not to say the full name, but I loved that song.
Especially when you're drunk.
Yeah. And I love Mexican restaurants. Luckily, we have 5 in town. And so it just seemed like the right song for me. Yeah. And so he put together just a slamming studio band, and we went in and cut it, and everything it was just easy, and it's been a big hit out on the road, live shows.
A lot of people
great.
like it.
Oh yeah.
A lot of good reaction to it. Because often, as a lot of bands know, you play their songs sometimes and people have never heard you before.
Right.
So you always go by reaction.
Right.
Yep.
And it's always got a good reaction.
Oh yeah. It's gotten great response. And so I've been very happy. Even a couple of radio stations up in Wisconsin are already playing it, even though it hasn't officially been released, and
it was also fun in the big festival in Wisconsin, Summerfest.
Oh yeah.
Shame on me for forgetting that. The one year I did it with you, your daughter,
Yep, my
now daughter-in-law,
Yep,
was on the stage throwing out beach balls to the nice crowd in front of us. It was nice, like packed little venue. So how many beach balls were out there? And people were just bouncing them like crazy all over the place.
Throwing sombreros. I ordered sombreros, so
it was fun.
Throwing them out, man. They were bouncing. And Summerfest made a comment about it. They loved it.
That's great.
And
made for a good video. It was pretty cool.
It was a real. I mean, they said on that one they were figuring about 2,000 to 3,000 people out in front of us, and it was great. We just had, and it's just a fun song. You can't help but love it, you know. And so I'm
Harley Davidson stage.
Yes,
was the stage we were on. Mm-hmm. All right. So here's the song.
Let's play it.
Did I derail that conversation?
No, it was minor.
Are you sure?
It was minor.
I just wanted an excuse to play this.
Okay.
Shut up,
That's all. All right, so here's Mexican Restaurant. Check it out, y'all.
Yep.
Top heat, flip-flop feet. We all know where we're gonna meet. Down on the corner, into the mall. Everybody's waiting for their name to be called. We'll be watching in Daytona, margaritas and Coronas, senoritas just a-talking so smooth. Tequila at the bar, mariachi on guitar. I'm requesting some Jimmy Buffett soon. Cancun with a parking lot. Getting drunk in a Mexican restaurant. Pink umbrellas, big sombreros. This place is hotter than a yellow habanero. Don't need a menu, less it's changed. They know my order like they know my name. We'll be watching in Daytona, margaritas and Coronas, senoritas just a-talking so smooth. Tequila at the bar, mariachi on guitar. I'm requesting some Jimmy Buffett soon. Cancun with a parking lot. Getting drunk in a Mexican restaurant. Por favor, tip them up until they bring you more. Dos cervezas, por favor, tip them up until they bring you more. We'll be watching in Daytona, margaritas and Coronas, senoritas just a-talking so smooth. Tequila at the bar, mariachi on guitar. I'm requesting some Jimmy Buffett soon. Cancun with a parking lot. Getting drunk in a Mexican restaurant. That's right. Getting drunk in a Mexican restaurant.
One awesome piece of trivia, that's me doing the hand claps.
Oh,
yeah,
very cool.
And for real, it wasn't a sound bite on my stupid iPad. Well, that's an awesome song. I'll tell you what's great is we just played a song that I played with you. Several times live, and getting to see that reaction, it's a fun song to play.
It is fun to play.
So it's a unique perspective here on this podcast now that I'm playing music for artists. I'm like, I'll play it on that. Now, it'll be cool when I'm on a record that I'm playing.
Oh, yeah.
Hint, hint, hint.
Anybody?
Need to go back in the studio.
But, all right, man. So we're on the bus. This is inevitable, especially when there's some adult beverages passing along between you guys. I'm the guy that doesn't drink on the bus. So then before long, I'm in my bunk.
I drink your share.
That's me. When you guys decide to make it a night.
Right.
Never fails.
Yeah.
The deep cut 80s tracks break out in the bus radio. The singing starts. You guys go off,
and it's terrible singing because we are drunk.
But then you're talking about deep cuts. Deep musicians.
Oh yeah.
So I thought I'd pitch it up to you guys and let's talk 80s music because I'm from a different perspective.
Yeah,
I came in the tail end of it,
right?
But I'm the product of grunge.
Right.
Just gonna be honest.
Yeah.
So I always enjoy watching and listening to you guys.
I am definitely the product of Hair Nation and Hair Band.
Okay, that's where we can start because we carpooled for damn near every rehearsal we did. And Hair Nation
every time.
And it's.
I think I love country music, but
Dawkins. Just all this stuff.
I'm telling you, go back in time. Crew. I was a huge Crew fan as a kid.
Yeah.
You know, everybody loved Crew back then. They say you had the Dawkins. I love Tesla. I was a huge, when I was drumming, the Tesla drummer, his name just went right out of my head.
And I should know that, but I don't know.
And there's people watching right now. Like, I said,
Troy Lucetta.
But what was that name?
Troy Lucetta.
Yeah.
Troy Lucetta.
Yep.
Mechanical Resonance, I think was their big album.
That was the one changed.
See, now there we go. Let's go. Let's keep it.
Changed how I drum. Modern Day Cowboy.
Yep.
Changed. I never could figure out really well, like anything off time, hands, foot.
Yeah.
Like my mind thinks all of a sudden when I would listen to that, it clicked like, oh.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden I became a way better drummer based off of that album. Literally.
It was a great album.
That changed my drumming.
Yeah.
And, had Rat. Of course, I was a huge Rat and Roll fan, and stuff. And
Hair Nation loves Rat.
Yeah. Oh, do they? I haven't listened to Hair Nation in a while.
Big Winger fan.
Oh, man.
Hey, John Roth.
Oh, yeah, John Roth, local guy. And
I think, and this is serious, I'm not just saying this because John might be watching, but I think Winger has got probably more talent in that band than most of the bands from that era. They are just, every player in that band is unreal, and it's just
still out there doing it.
Well, their music was so well written. Yeah. Like if you listen, in all seriousness, you put a Rat song on the radio, then you listen to a Winger song.
Yeah.
The difference of the studio, of the instrumentation and stuff is light years
It's
apart.
like Mr. Big.
Yeah. Oh, they were phenomenal.
It was easy for me to know Mr. Big as the MTV, song they had, a little pop song.
Yeah.
That was so in my mind, that's Mr. Big.
Yeah, no, they were.
And then you dig in, you're like, oh, that's not Mr. Big.
Yeah, lean into
Holy
it.
shit.
What a great album.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. It's just, and you had a lot of those bands, it was such a widespread amount of talent. And, you had the Cinderella. I was a huge Cinderella fan. I always thought they should have been so much bigger, and then you had the knockoff band of them, Brittany Fox. Brittany Fox.
Yeah.
Had Girls School.
Yeah.
And it kind of had the same voice as Tom Kiefer, and stuff. And those
the same style.
Oh yeah. It's the very same, but
I'm
it was
nodding
great.
like I know.
Well, there was all these one hit wonders that had that one hit that was unbelievable. Then where'd they go?
Have you seen that Tom Kiefer is playing here?
I did see that.
They're coming here, and Memphis' own Corey Myers plays keys for him, so that's going to be.
Did you get your tickets?
I have
not gotten tickets, and it may be too late now.
Yeah,
so.
I think it is. I thought I saw something that they were selling close to sold out.
Yeah.
But all those guys are still out there doing it. I always say, like to my friends now and younger guys, like a lot of that grunge music or just different styles of music. Like you think about even like Journey and REO Speedwagon, Styx, they're still out there,
crushing it.
And any time of the day, like locally, a little plug for 102.7. You turn on 102.7, you're gonna hear a Journey song.
Oh yeah.
What other songs really of most genres, 40 years after its release, are played on a
Don't Stop Believing is
a daily basis.
It's the record holder, isn't it?
I believe it is
the most played song ever.
All those songs, you're going to hear all day long on those stations. And talk about the test of time. It's pretty amazing. The same thing with the hairband. There's, you got the Monsters of Rock cruises and stuff, and they sell out because people loved that era of music. And that's me. Like there's I just went right out of my head. There's a song Rita loves, my wife Rita. She loves me to sing Steelheart. I'll Never Let You Go.
Oh yeah, well,
is that the song that goes into the stratosphere vocally?
Stupid highs. Now, up until my mid 30s, I could hit all but 2 notes in that song. There's 2 that are just not even right.
Right.
And as I've gotten a little older, I struggle a little more. But that first yell in it, that first high one, I did it a while back for my sister. I was over in South Carolina, and I had done it, of course, for Rita, and Rita loves it, and she puts me on the spot all the time to do it. And so she's like, you got to sing that song for your sister. I'm like, okay. So she gets in the car, and Rita's like, put that on. I said, okay, I put it on. I'm like, I got to turn this one way up, Deb. I love it. And she's like, okay, you know, and my sister's used to me. So we crank it up, and I start singing along, and she's like, you sound really good. You know, on that first one just belts out, and she's like, oh my God. You know? And so then my buddy Scott had flown down, Scott Nice from New York. He had flown down, and gets there, and we get him in the car, do the same thing to it. And he about choked on his beer and threw his cigarette down. I scared him when I did it, you know, but I loved all that high.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
Me too.
To this day, that's why I love him. When we were on the bus that night, that's what we were into, all that, because Jeff sings great. We haven't put a vocal or a mic in front of him yet, you know, on the drums.
It's a hidden secret. Jeff can sing really well.
And that's the thing, is he hits those high harmonies and things. And those were what, like, a lot of times now when I listen to certain songs, sometimes Rita's like, that doesn't sound right. Well, it's because I sing the harmony. Right. Because I like to sing the harmonies of those 80s songs when I'm hearing them. And it just doesn't sound, of course, quite right in there.
Yeah.
Man, I kind of witnessed the 80s in this way. So my mom had me young. So my mom was in her 20s in the 80s and was all about the 80s. Right. And I grew up in a town called Sanford in Maine. Decent sized town now. Now it's a city, but back in the 80s, it was just a town. But so many venues for live music, all selling out capacity. Yeah, all because of the bands. Yeah, all because of the music. Right. The 80s era, the bands were good. Right. Like the cover bands took it seriously, and they showed up. There's more showcasing for original. I was old enough to witness that, because my mom would go out too, and sometimes I'd go to see these bands and everything. And if you knew Sanford, to know that you could make a decent living as a musician in Sanford, Maine, because there's 7 different places to play that book 7 nights a week. That was the 80s.
Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy.
So I'm fortunate that I did grow up on Def Leppard Hysteria. Was my first, that was my Walkman jam. I wore the plastic off it. So I did get schooled in the right time. But when the 90s hit, it was pretty obvious that all that went away. Right. What a bummer.
Yeah.
Because it totally changed that. Right. And that venue stopped booking, and now they're still paying the same amount they were paying back then. But you know what? In 1983, to make $150 a night, whole lot better than $100 now.
That's because it's truly about. I remember playing drums in high school. We used to play several bars around there, and I was too young to get into the bar. I could, because I was playing. And we made the same money, it seemed like, back then as what a lot of bars offer nowadays. We were making $500-$600 a night back in the late 80s, early 90s. There's bars around here that'll offer you that.
I mean, a lot of these bands back then, again, my mom enjoyed the 80s. Yeah. We'll just say that. Yeah. So I was behind the stage in a lot of predicaments. Yeah. But I would see. Right. And all these bands would, they had their own U-Haul that they would repair themselves, and they had their own lights. I mean, they had the staging. Yeah. They really took it seriously. They had their own truck and showed up with the big par cans, and really made a business out of it.
Yeah. Well, where I lived, we had Rochester, New York was close to us, and they had a thing called the Penny Arcade. It was a club up there. Big bands would come through and play. Bands you would never think would come play a place like this loved to come play at the Penny Arcade. Yeah. And we had so many venues up there that you get to see all these up and coming bands before they made it, when they were just, Slaughter, when they were coming up. You could see them at all sorts of little places up there.
We had that here.
And that was a great environment. And I saw Motley Crue was huge by then. But in one summer, me and all my buddies, I had a van. We'd pack in the van, and we saw them 5 times in one summer, because we had Buffalo, Darien Lake, Rochester, Weedsport, in Syracuse. All were venues within hour and a half to 2 hours max of me. So we went and saw them, 5 times in a matter of a week or so, a week and a half, and it's just, the 80s was such a different fan experience, I believe, in concert experience.
Oh, I'm sure, of course.
And the concerts now are great. you know, and stuff. I wasn't a grunge guy. I like some of those bands a little bit, you know, but I didn't follow them like I don't know their history like I do.
Well,
you know,
like I said, I grew up with that, so I enjoy it. But I, in a way, witnessed what the '80s was like too. Yeah, and I miss it. Well, I wish I would have been your age.
It was an experience.
And we talked about this. There's enough age gap here where, we slip into two different generations just far enough where you guys were into the '80s and I'm prodigy. Yeah, I'm a prodigy. Product of the '90s.
Well, being from here, I'm jaded because we had such a huge national recognition with '80s music,
and I'm learning this.
And it was big.
Day.
Tora Tora, I played their first album, Surprise Attack, and their second album, Wild America. I played those things so much that I could probably recite every word to every song. And then we had Roxy Blue, and we had Every Mother's Nightmare, and just so many great.
Well, you think about this
acts.
Area, like our big city was Rochester, but there was nobody at the time living in Rochester who played for big acts. Like Lou Graham from Foreigner was from Rochester.
Yeah.
But he was the lead singer of Foreigner. You know, you didn't have the sidemen or whatever. Where here, you think about in this town, obviously how much the music environment is. You got John Roth, Adams, you got
Pete Mandillo.
Pete Mandillo, Tony Rossi, that have played for these big acts, and they're right here, and they're guys that we know, and they're just as down to earth as we are. But they've, you know, I remember when I first was playing at the Roadhouse Casino down in Tunica.
Oh yeah, been there.
One of the first shows I ever was there. There was this guy on stage ripping the guitar. I was like, man, that guy can play. It was John Roth.
Yeah,
and I knew who John Roth was. It came, and I'm like.
He plays for Winger.
Yeah.
For people that don't know.
And I'm like, man, I can't believe this guy is playing here. You know, like, the weekend before he was like in Japan or something, you know, playing for 30,000 people.
He's been with Winger since the 90s.
Oh, yeah. Right? And I was like, this is crazy. And I got to meet him and talk with him a little bit about it. And he just loves music.
Yeah.
And that was his thing is he's back home and he loves Memphis and he loved music. And I don't know him as well now because I'm not in that scene anymore. I don't know if he even know me if he ran into me in supermarket, but it was just amazing that here's a guy that lived a dream I would have loved to have lived.
Sure.
You know, he's been there, done it, and he's just a normal guy. Yeah, and cool as all get out. So.
He's not really normal. He's one of the most amazing guitar players on the planet.
I was going to say, Jeff, we're trying to book him. I thought an insult was coming.
No. No, he is.
On the other hand,
he's an incredible musician.
Oh yeah.
So. Well, look. Derek, it's been so much fun having you here.
Been great.
This music's a little longer now, so we can still chat.
Okay. All right.
I used to run out on me. It would die. But look, DerekJoseph.net.
Yep.
Right.
DerekJoseph.net. Yep.
They can hear samples of your music on there. They can look at your tour dates. They can read your story.
Yep.
All the socials, YouTube channel, everything's right there. DerekJoseph.net.
Hope to see someone out of the show. That'd be great.
And I've talked about my production staff in this last episode I launched, and one of them's Mondo, because Mondo has done all the artwork for everything I've done. And then I mentioned you and that he did your stuff. So
he does. He's designed my website he told me just send me a few samples, and man, he just took it.
And then now you got scrims and you got a whole stage presence, and it's all because of Mondo.
My whole backdrop, it's all Mondo.
Shout out to Mondo.
Absolutely, man.
But he's all mine. If you want to book him, he comes through me first.
Yeah, he's great.
And I don't want to lose that guy, but
he's going to have to do us a website soon for this.
There you go.
So thanks for listening. Now we got to turn the mics off and talk about our contract negotiations. That's Derek, and that's Jeff, and thank you, Derek.
And that's
Thank you guys. I appreciate it.
And you know what? We got to do actual outro here. So we already did that. Jeff, where can we find the Rhythm Section podcast?
YouTube, Facebook, Spotify, Apple Music, iTunes. I don't know what is iTunes still a thing?
Yeah, it's Apple It's Apple Podcast now.
Okay, see,
just go to our description, click on the link tree, and it'll take you everywhere. Below that link, you will find Patreon. Click on our Patreon link. If you don't know what Patreon is, it's a subscription-based platform for exclusive content. But we have just one tier. No exclusive content. It's called the Tip Jar. It's $1 a month. If you can spare $1 a month, man, that would go a long way. And as always, Shelby Row Productions, SRP Studios. Yeah. If you want a free consultation on your podcast, ShelbyRowProductions.com. You'll be talking to me directly. So
find us
Great
on
stuff.
Facebook and like the page, please.
yes,
Yep.
and keep engaging and keep doing everything and sharing. It's awesome. Thank you.
Share.
All right, guys. Take care.
See you next
Bye.
time.